You are listening to I Survived the Wild Outdoors podcast, where real outdoors men and women share their heroic tales of survival. I'm your host, Brad Mathewson, and this is their story. Skydiving is an incredibly exciting, adrenaline-fueled sport that tens of thousands of people across the world enjoy every year. My guest today is Jordan Hatmaker. She had a parachute malfunction, which happens 1 in 1,000 deployments. She soon found herself hurling towards the ground at 125 miles an hour. With precious seconds ticking away, she tried to free herself from the tangled chute, but it was too late. Can you tell us what happened that day, Jordan?
So it was November 14th, 2021. I was in the middle of getting my skydiving license so I could jump solo on my own at any drop zone in the U.S. or in the world. And it's like you do a ground school and then you do 25 jumps. You are by yourself, but a coach jumps out with you in free fall, and you go through drills and such. So I was on I'd done one jump that morning. It was Sunday morning, and it was pretty nice out. Like it was November, but it wasn't super cold or anything. Probably in the 60s and like partly sunny. So it was pretty good. And my first jump of the day went really well. I went through some drills on the ground with my coach. I was going to match her levels. So if she told me to like make my body go float up, then I would float up. And then if she went down, then I would go down. It's easier to show like in person, but yeah, so I was doing that. And then we were going to work on docking, which is like coming together and holding on to each other's wrists. So the first jump went well and the drills went well, and once I got to the ground, I was actually going to leave because the first jump took a lot longer to get on the plane than I had expected, just waiting forever to get on. But anyway, but then she came back over to me and she said, well, you want to do one more? I hadn't worked with this coach before. So I thought, sure, why not? The first one went great. So we rode up. Everything was normal in the plane. I jumped out. She jumped out after me. Everything went great in the sky during free fall. And then when it got to about, I want to say it was like 5,000 feet, we tracked away from each other. So we just turn and we move as far away from each other as possible to pull our parachute. I pulled my parachute. It was probably at that point like 4,000 feet in altitude. And as soon as I pulled my parachute, I realized something was wrong. The pilot chute that comes out before the main canopy, it was completely wrapped multiple times around my right leg. So my right leg was suspended in the air and my main canopy wasn't above my head. So I was just free falling, continuing to free fall with this pilot chute wrapped around my leg. I kind of just went into, strategy mode. Like, I have got to get this off. How am I going to get this off my leg? I tried to pull it off. Hindsight's 2020. I should have just cut my parachute and pulled my reserve parachute, but I didn't. I thought I had a lot more time than I did. And I couldn't get my shoe off. That was my next plan of action, was to get my shoe off, but I had double knotted my shoes because in a previous jump, I had lost one of my shoes, fell off. So yeah, I couldn't get it off. And then before I knew it, the reserve parachute fired. So it has like an automated activation device, and it fires if you're going a specific rate of speed. I think it's 70 miles per hour. And if you're at a certain level and your main canopy isn't out yet. So it popped open at 750 feet above the ground. And when that came out, the reserve came out, it like wiggled my main canopy out of its bag. And I just felt this like another like jolt. And the main canopy was out and the reserve was out. And then you would think that would be good, which a lot of times it is. It probably slowed me down some, but then they went into another malfunction. It's called a down plane, and the two parachutes drag away from each other and kind of accelerate you to the ground. So that was, I want to say, like 200 or 300 feet. So it all happened super, super quickly. I remember seeing the ground come up really, really fast. And I wasn't scared. I just thought, oh, well, this is really going to hurt. And I hit the ground with my left leg first, which is probably what saved my life, is hitting the ground with my leg first versus, my head or anything else. And then I bounced back onto my butt and then planted forward. I immediately tried to get up because in skydiving, once you land, you're supposed to immediately stand up if you didn't land on your feet. Like once you skydive a lot, you can just run it out instead of like sliding in. So you're supposed to stand up immediately if you slide in, so everybody knows that you're okay. So that was the first thing on my mind was I've got to stand up to show everyone that I'm okay. Well, I couldn't move anything below my waist. Like I couldn't move my legs. I couldn't move my feet, nothing. So I knew that there was a big problem. And in my mind, it still wasn't as bad as it actually was, which is probably good. I just thought I kept saying I'd broken my pelvis. I think it's because it was like just really, really burning and like excruciating pain right around the midsection of my body, which now turns out that, I had broken like most of the lower half of my back. So that makes sense now. So I was just laying there and just praying out loud, like, pray I'm not paralyzed. Please don't let me be paralyzed. And then I would yell, help, somebody help me, because I wasn't close to anybody. I had landed like pretty far off from the designated drop zone. I could see some people in the distance, but like I wasn't close enough where anybody was right there. It felt like I was laying there waiting forever. I don't really know how long it was, but then people started running over to me, and I was just telling them what I thought I'd broken, but we obviously didn't know at the time. The drop zone's in the middle of nowhere, Suffolk, Virginia, but yeah, it's in the middle of a bunch of like farms and stuff. So the ambulance did take about like 20 to 30 minutes to get there. And once they got there, they tried to put me on the backboard, and I have never in my life heard sounds like that come out of any living being. I didn't even know that it was coming from me. It was like blood curdling screams. It was so painful. So they just put me right back down, and then I just hear like buzzing above my head, like of people just chattering, and I didn't know what was happening, but I kept asking everybody if I was paralyzed, and no one was answering me. And then finally, this one girl answered me and she said, "No, you're not. You're going to be fine," which she didn't know. She was just a fellow skydiver, but I'm just really glad that she said that because it made me feel a lot better. Um, so no one was doing anything and I didn't really understand why. And then I heard the helicopter and the helicopter landed and I realized that that was for me. So the flight paramedics came and got me on the gurney and put me in the helicopter. Well, they gave me ketamine first, so that was definitely an experience. And yeah, so it was only, I don't know, 10-minute ride to the hospital. It's the closest level 1 trauma center. It's called Centera Norfolk General Hospital. So it was a quick ride there. And when I got there, I immediately went in to get like an MRI. It was kind of all a blur after that. I just remember getting an MRI and then being in the emergency room waiting for the neurosurgeon for like hours and hours. And my mom lived in Seattle at the time, my mom and my stepdad. And so I remember talking to my mom on the phone and telling her that it's not that bad. She didn't need to fly over across the country, that I was going to be fine. But of course, she was there the next day. Okay.
So how to go from there? So once you were in the hospital, what did they find for injuries on you?
So, well, I didn't know anything about my injuries. I didn't really know exactly what my injuries were for like the first couple weeks in the hospital. It's really weird. I mean, I knew that I had broken my back, but I didn't know I had a spinal cord injury. And I don't know if it's because I wasn't paying attention or I was just like I think I was just in a fog, like just delirious or something. But it turns out that I had broken, I think, like 6 vertebrae. One was a burst fracture at L2, and that had like impinged my spinal cord. So I had a spinal cord injury, and that's why I couldn't move anything below my waist. Each day I could like start to wiggle my toes a little bit more, but I still didn't have control over my legs the whole month that I was in the hospital. It was really crazy just not having any control over like the movements that you're so used to just being able to do. So yeah, I was in the hospital for a month. The last 5 or 6 days of it was an inpatient rehab, where I did physical therapy, and just they like kind of tried to help me to walk and use these like muscle stimulators and stuff like that to try to like bring the nerves back and to like rewire your brain to connect with your muscles. I don't know, it's all way above my head, but I've learned a little bit since then. So then I got home and I just continued to work on just the movements that they had taught me. And then I had like an in-home PT person come. And when I was in the hospital, I told the doctors that I was going to walk within 3 months of my accident. And I think they rolled their eyes or something. They're like, okay, sure, Jordan. But I did. I ended up walking exactly 3 months to the day of my accident, which was pretty crazy.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so unaided, like with no walker or wheelchair or crutches or anything. On February 14th, I started walking again by myself. In addition to the broken back and spinal cord injury, I had something called a pylon fracture. Some people say pilon fracture. But it's basically where your tibia and your leg, from like a high force impact, it crushes your ankle bones. So I have that on my left leg from hitting the ground first with that leg. So I just have like a bunch of rods and pins in my leg and my back. I'm much more bulletproof than anybody else around. Lots stronger than I was before. Let's see.
So how long before you got back into basically a normal life? After the injury.
So after the injury, it was probably a good 6 months until I got back into, I guess, what you would call a normal life. I mean, my life is never going to be the same as what it was, and like not in a bad way at all. It's just different now. And I do have some like lingering side effects from the spinal cord injury. So like I can't feel certain parts of my body. Like I still have some internal organ dysfunction that's really, really common with spinal cord injuries. But you know, those things aren't anything that I can't live with. I'm just super thankful to have my mobility. That was a main thing for me because I was so active before the accident, and I was going stir crazy in the hospital and just thinking to myself, if this is how I have to live the rest of my life, it's going to be rough. So, I mean, I really commend those people that, you know, lose their mobility and how they're able to overcome that.
So,
but yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. So how were you able to stay, you know, what was the positive motivating factor that kept you going all this time? Because I talk to some people and you know, depression sets in and they get down in the dumps, and it's hard to get out of that mindset and to get up every day and try to have a positive attitude. So what was like what was the driving factor in your life?
I guess I did get down in the dumps. I went through periods of, I don't know if you would call it depression, but I would just throw myself a pity party, you know, for a day and like wallow in my sorrows. But then I think the motivating factor for me was honestly like climbing mountains. Like I really, really wanted to be able to do that again. And I knew that if I just gave up and didn't, you know, didn't do the exercises I was supposed to, that like my muscles would not relearn how to work again.
Yeah.
And I just knew the longer I let my body kind of atrophy, the worse it would be. So I just tried. And honestly, like having a really good support system was really important and a huge driving factor, because the times that I didn't think that I could do it, or that I was, you know, upset about what happened or whatever, my friends and family were really super encouraging. So that was great. And I figured, I mean, I'm a Christian, and I figured that like many people that go through accidents like this are either not with us anymore or they're paralyzed for the rest of their lives. And I just felt super fortunate, you know, and I felt like I had been spared for some reason. So I didn't want to take that for granted.
That seems to be a common theme when I talk to people is they feel like maybe it wasn't their day. Like God had a bigger bigger story for them yet. And
Yeah.
it wasn't meant to end that day. That there's
Yeah.
bigger plan. And multiple people have told me the same thing.
Wow. Yeah, it's so true. I do think that there is a bigger plan, but then that also puts a lot of pressure on me. I'm like, well, wait, am I living out the plan? Like I'm just laying here watching a movie, Like, what am I supposed to be doing? But yeah, there's definitely some plan for me, and I don't know whether it's just to save animals and uh, be a great dog mom and climb mountains, or if there's like something else that hasn't come up yet. But I don't know if you read this or not, but so 3 days after my accident, on November 17th, I was supposed to fly out to Nepal to embark on my Mount Everest base camp 3 week journey.
I saw that.
And yeah, and so obviously I couldn't do that. And I ended up going last November, so exactly a year after my accident, I was there.
Wow.
At Mount Base Camp, it was just so much more special than it would have been special no matter what. But like just reaching base camp and just being alone in that moment, and no one else there even knew what was happening, but it was just amazing. Like I knew I would get there, but
did it feel like a full circle moment?
Oh yeah, it was amazing. It was like I just like can't even put it into words. It was definitely full circle.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So what else do you want to know?
I guess what got you into skydiving? I mean, did you have a friend that was in skydiving or someone in your family?
Well, so Virginia Beach is a huge military community. A lot of people that I dated were into skydiving for work. And then I had some girlfriends who jumped and had their licenses. So that's why I wanted to get into it, because I had done a few tandems. I think I'd done like 5 tandems in Virginia Beach and San Diego. And I just loved it so much every single time that I just wanted to bite the bullet and do it. It was really expensive, so that's why I'd put it off for so long. But yeah, so I did a tandem in, I think it was September or October. I did a tandem. I went to Moab, Utah. Yeah, it was amazing, and it really wanted to get back into it. But
how did you feel once you did it and got onto the ground? I mean, were you nervous going into it, or?
No, I wasn't. I would have been really nervous if I was by myself, but since I was strapped to somebody, I mean, I just trust those guys so much because I know what they have to go through to become a tandem instructor. They have to go through an insane amount of jumps and safety courses and stuff. So I wasn't nervous about that at all. It was so much fun. I was nervous about the fact that I wanted to start skydiving again by myself. But, it's just not a priority for me anymore. I would do it if I had a lot more money. But the thought of starting over and spending thousands more all over again, and the fact that my friends and family would probably, most of them wouldn't be very happy.
What can I ask you this? Because I've never skydived. I've always kind of thought about it. It's always been there. One of those things that, maybe a bucket list item, but I guess for the people at home, especially that haven't done this, what does it feel like? I mean, take me from, you're in an airplane and you're looking out and you're like, I'm going to leave this perfectly good airplane going, free fall. I mean, what is that mindset? What is the feeling once well, I guess start in the beginning when you're on the plane and they open the door, like what's going through your head, especially that first time. And then when you're falling, I mean, what's the feeling like? I have no idea.
It's very hard to describe, but I'll do my best.
Okay.
So when you're going up, I'm just going to do it from a tandem perspective.
Okay.
Because probably a lot of people aren't going to jump solo.
Probably not.
But yeah, so going up in the plane, you're pretty jittery. I know my palms would always start sweating, but it's definitely like an air of energy, electricity, excitement. Everybody in the plane's excited, no matter if they've jumped thousands of times or if it's their first tandem jump. Like everybody in the plane's excited and everyone's high-fiving, fist bumping. I mean, it happens at every drop zone. I've seen them do that at every drop zone, fist bumping and doing the shaka sign. And it's really fun on the plane, but it is nerve-wracking. You're just getting higher and higher and higher, and then they open the plane door and it's really loud, and you get to you are crouched down and you waddle to the very door of the plane. It's like if you've ever jumped off of a cliff, it's just that's the scariest moment, is when you're on the edge at the door. And then you just have to do it. You don't have a choice at that point. You can't turn around. So you just do it. And free fall is by far my favorite part. Some people like to be under canopy, but I think it's kind of slow and boring. But free fall for me is what it's about. You don't get too long in free fall, but it's just so fun. You're just kind of you can make your body do all these little movements and flip if you want. And I mean, if you're tandem, then the tandem instructor's in control. But the best way I can describe it is if you've been on a roller coaster and you're at the top, you inch your way up to the top, to the top, to the top, the very top. And then, one of those roller coasters that you're at the top and then they make you wait for a few seconds.
Yeah.
Drop you. Yeah, that's what it's like when you jump out. That's exactly what it's like, in my opinion. Then once you're falling, it's like a bird. I feel like every kid, wants to be a bird or wants to be Superman or fly and just see everything around you so small on the ground. I don't know. There's just really nothing like it.
So you're not thinking the second you leave the plane, I got to pull this parachute immediately.
No, I wasn't. Obviously, I maybe should have. I maybe should have thought more about it. I mean, there's a lot of things I could have done differently.
Do you know, so when you jumped out of the plane, how many seconds of free fall do you have basically before you're supposed to pull a chute?
Well, it depends on where you jump out of the plane, how high, and then what altitude you pull your parachute at. I was jumping out that day at 13.5 and I pulled at 4,000. So, and you're falling at 125 miles per hour in free fall. So I don't know. You gotta do that math, Brad.
I mean, do they tell you to count 1001, 1002, 1003?
No, you have an altimeter on your wrist. So you can check it. You have to check it every few seconds to make sure.
Does it feel like it goes really fast, or does it kind of life kind of slow down? I mean,
yeah, you really don't realize how fast you're falling, and by the time you're like look down, you're like, oh crap, I need to pull my parachute.
Wow.
It goes by so quickly.
Suppose you're just falling like a stone out of the air.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it goes by so quickly. Yeah, and I mean, that's also why I didn't realize how little time I had to try to correct the situation I was in. I only had about, it turns out, like 20 seconds from the time I pulled to the time I hit the ground. So I was trying to do too many things, and I should have just cut away and pulled my reserve parachute. But I was new. It was only my 16th jump, and that's super new for skydiving. And so, hindsight's 20/20, but I'm here.
Well, it worked out in the end.
It did, thankfully. It was a close call, but I wouldn't change it now. I wouldn't change it. Everything that happened.
Yeah, like I said, someone definitely up above was looking out for you that day, and for sure he's got a higher purpose, even if you don't know what it is now.
Yeah.
I believe everybody's put on the planet for a reason, and you might not know what that reason is right now, and it might be just a little thing. It might be sharing your story with others and inspiring others. Sometimes accidents can act as teaching aids for other people. Other people read your story. Other people hear your story, hear you talk about your story, hear how positive you are, even though you had something really traumatic and horrible happen to you, and yet you still kept a positive attitude this whole time. You didn't give up. You kept persevering and basically got back and got to your Mount Everest.
Yeah, well, thanks. Yeah, I don't want to make it seem like sunshine and rainbows. I definitely had some low moments, but you just kind of keep your eyes on what your goals are, and what the next milestone that you want to reach is.
Was there any other parting words or wisdom you want to leave people with?
I guess there's just to try to see the silver lining in any situation they're in. There is a silver lining in every tragedy. It's just hard to see it when you're in the eye of the storm at the time. But once you get through it, you'll see that it happened for a reason.
For sure. Well, thank you, Jordan. Really appreciate you coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
When we talk about the psychology of skydiving, we're generally referring to a skydiver's relationship to fear. When you peek behind the fear, it becomes obvious that skydiving is more about the act of calculated risks. It's about empowerment, which requires bravery and challenging yourself to believe you're capable of much more than you think. People like Jordan live life to the fullest. They don't look back and have regrets. They just keep moving forward, accepting life's next challenge and conquering it. I feel very blessed to have Jordan Hatmaker share her incredible, inspiring story of bravery and perseverance today. I think Mark Twain said it best. 20 years from now, we'll be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the things you did. I hope there's a little bit of Jordan in all of us. It would definitely make life more fun. Stay safe out there and enjoy all that Mother Nature has to offer. If you like what you heard today, click the subscribe button to hear more upcoming stories. If you or someone you know have a survival story you'd like to share, contact me at isurvivethewildoutdoors@gmail.com.